All right. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Got a couple of people in the Zoom room. I'm going to play our intro and allow people time to come in. Be right back. How's it going, everybody? We got a last show of the week, and it's the old saying, you save the best for last. No, they're all good. But we've got Jayme and Tony Williams coming on. A lot of people know Jayme out in the community, and we're privileged to have her here with her partner. They've got a great story. We talked a little bit about it on the show that Jayme did with us. Let me pull them up on the screen. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Okay, there you go. What's happening? How y'all doing?
Hello.
Hi, Tony. It's nice to meet you. I'm Todd.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. I actually saw a part of a video you guys did together a couple of months ago. So I knew a little bit about you. I didn't remember till Jayme was on the show and she starts telling me this story, and I'm like, I've heard this story. I'm having like a deja vu. Then Morgan sent me a note and said, that's because we watched the video, and whatever you were talking about.
Yeah.
I thought I was having like a super deja vu moment, but yeah. So I saw some of it. Of course, we've been highlighting, we've had quite a few couples on since last month. I don't know, probably like 25 or 30 of them. So it's been a real interesting, it's been an interesting spin on what we normally do. And it's good to see couples out there and their stories and their experiences. You guys have an interesting story because you've been together, if I'm not mistaken, quite a while, like 20 years or something.
20 years. May is our 20th wedding anniversary.
Okay. See, I remembered. Yeah. I remembered something from the super deja vu moment. And kids, you've got kids involved, you've got a business involved, you've got Jayme kind of getting downloaded and then figuring out she needed to go do something with Tony's support. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you guys are like, really got a strong combination of frequencies. I mean, do you guys ever have any rough moments? Do you ever get like wobbled and have to realign? And I mean,
well, when I was going through the transition, it was a pretty low point. There was just, we both had a lot of responsibilities in our lives. We're taking on a lot of responsibilities and just doing a lot and kind of disconnecting from each other. And then I started questioning everything, and questioning everything in terms of, everything in life.
Who I am, where I am.
Yeah, like why are our school systems the way they are? Why is our banking system the way it is? Like why, like everything about modern living, none of it made
Yeah.
sense to me at that point.
And I saw that as a beginning of her awakening. So she started to ask questions, which is a good thing,
Yeah.
not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, we were both at a point where we were on boards, we were active in the communities with the, Jayme was working with the girls in community groups, and
Their daughters,
I was on various community groups that was just keeping us away from each other, and we weren't synced up anymore. For a while there, we were joined at the hip early days, and then we went into life and into the system and into the routine, and teenagers and work and friends, and we were just kind of operating in our own little bubbles for a little while, and kind of came to a point where we realized that this is something needs to change.
Yeah.
Something needs to change. Yeah. And
it was hard because, as everything starts coming to the surface, I was kind of, my inner child was getting triggered and then triggering his inner child. And it was like this back and forth of us really uprooting all of the.
Kind of getting back to ourselves, I think, kind of finding ourselves. I think it was, in the chaos of life and the groups that we're involved with, we're pulled away from ourselves. We become an identity of a lot of other things. And I think the process that Jayme was going back towards was to finding who she was and finding more about herself. And then in that process, I was able to look at hey, I've lost myself too. Who am I? And we were both able to kind of go through that journey. I think at different stages, she was obviously the pioneer, but allowed me to to look at myself and say, hey, you know what? These sorts of things I can see that will help me, and and so we're able to kind of walk it together in a way, which I think is important because it's quite different. You've got one that's learning something new, doing new things, new circles, new groups, talking a new language, and if the other's not walking it or understanding it, it can be quite alien. So I think that if it's important for us, it was important for us for me to still understand that she was okay, she would be fine, she's still making good decisions, and it's okay to support her and trust and those sorts of things I had to work through too, like many people probably do.
Well, I think it's a good story because I think I've had people on the show that's, I'm in a marriage or in a relationship for an extended period of time, and normally it's a woman and she'll say, he's not awake, and, but it works. Like, they talk about how, they're separate, but they're together. I don't know. It's interesting because I think it's happening more and more. Your examples probably, it's probably a really good template for people that have been together, and then one of them wakes up. I can't even imagine what that would have been like, because you guys were like, you're like into this, I would say 10 years, and you've got kids and you've got a business. Then what happens? You just woke up one day and you had a download. Did you go to Tony and say, hey, something miraculous happened to me, or was it kind of a gradual thing?
Well, by the time that I went through that experience, we were kind of already into the journey together. So he was pretty understanding of it. But it was around like 15 years of our marriage. That's when like the stress hit, and we went through a year of stress and fighting, and then once that didn't ease up, then that's when I started asking questions and started searching stuff. So that was like another year of kind of trying to understand my own stress and how to manage it.
So you guys shared a dark night of the soul, it sounds like that year. Kind of shared it.
Yeah, it's everybody has their moments. Every couples have their moments, I think. But one thing about us is we've always been respectful of each other. We've always kind of looked out, and we may have had our dark moments, but they weren't really that dark.
Yeah.
They were there were disagreements, and there were there were tears, and there were stress, and but we'd always come back at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of pain. You know, I was going through a heavy grief for 2 years, you know, and
Wow.
and I had spent my whole life repressing all of my emotions, and then all of those emotions just started coming up and out at once, and I really had to unpack all of that, and so there was a lot of pain. And so if I triggered Tony's inner child and he came back at me, I was already in that pain body, and it just was so amplified. It felt really heavy.
Mm.
And so we had to work through a lot of that heaviness.
It's you know, something just flew by in the room here. I don't know what that was. I thought it was outside, but it wasn't. But you know, it is the ascension. We're in 2020 now, so I guess we're merging with the other dimensions or something. But so like yeah, I mean, this is so you know, you guys kind of woke up together, I guess is the only way I could put it. I mean, and did you ever get scared, Tony? Did you ever? I mean, I don't remember, Jayme, because it's the end of a long week, and I do a lot of shows anyway. But I know you have a you're like an energy practitioner, I think, and so you engage people. You're very involved in the community. I would imagine that, you know, I don't know if it's light language or channeling or transmitting or whatever it is. But Tony, did any of that ever scare you, or were you already familiar enough with the kind of the goings on with the light worker community and the things that people were involved with?
I'm very open-minded. I'm a science-driven individual. I love and I understand the way most things work. So I was intrigued, and but if there's anything that I was afraid of, was early on, is not knowing and not being involved with what she's doing, and a little bit of, you know, if you're withholding information from me, I don't know, I'm unable to participate. And I think we had to kind of work through a communication process. And I just asked if she could just, you know, include me, let me know what you're doing. And that allowed me to feel more comfortable, trust her, and also open up. But I also dealt with some insecurities early on too. You know, I had the insecurities from my childhood's wounds, from my childhood wounds that I had, that allowed me to address those. And I had to walk through that process myself and really fully let go and trust. And that was a big movement for me. Even though you think that you've worked on this stuff, life still presents you with you know, the reality, and you have to face it. And that's where you truly get an opportunity to test out if you've really worked on it or not, or if you're just suppressing, you know. So if anything, it was early on in our in Jayme's journey, and but I think it didn't really spook me as far as her practice or what she was doing. There's one thing I didn't really agree on, and that was, you know,
he didn't like for me to go to do readings.
Yeah, because I just feel that, you know, not everybody's authentic. I think that not everybody is legitimate. I think that there are certainly a lot of people out there that are able to see, but there are also others that just lead and say what you want to hear, and all of a sudden you fill your mind with this misinformation or information that's irrelevant. And that's what I'm more afraid of, is people manipulating other people. So.
Yeah. And also just like the concept of wanting to know what happens in the future didn't resonate with him, because, you know, we ultimately are creating our future. And but in a lot of the readings, that's not really, that's kind of a misconception, that if you go to a reading that you're wanting to know your future, but it's really more about getting in tune with yourself in the now moment. And so so
understanding that, I like to not know my future. I feel like I already know my future, and I'm living it. I prefer to live it than
Yeah.
you know, what questions do you have if you already know the answers? You know, so I prefer to just be in the moment and live it.
Yeah. Are you still doing readings?
I haven't done readings in a while.
Yeah. It's kind of
No.
a stepping stone in your evolution.
Yeah, I've never like given readings so much, you know, just like between friends and stuff, but that
I
wasn't
got you.
really my path. But in terms of like in the beginning, I had a few readings just because I was very much in the journey of the seeker and trying to reverse engineer what, you know, a higher self dissension, not understanding exactly what that was or why that happened.
So you guys seem to have like a really good handle on what went down, like listening to both of you, like on a personal level. And so like, as you were going through that 2 years, were you guys talking about it the whole way, or were you having to take space?
Well, there was a little bit of a breaking point. So I was finding it really hard to talk to him about stuff and not really understanding that part of the journey is embodying all aspects of yourself. And so there was a lot of aspects of myself that were coming up that I didn't understand where it was coming from. And one of those was it was a very tribal aspect of myself where it was confusing because, you know, my identity is I'm this blonde hair, blue-eyed white girl from the city. Why am I tuning into this tribal energy, and why am I feeling it as my own? And I had gone through a year of, not even a year, probably about 9 months of talk therapy, and I didn't even fully understand how energetic I was, but I knew that talk therapy wasn't helping me, and it wasn't helping shift the energy. And I was researching other modalities that I could maybe try to help shift the energy. I was feeling such a heavy energy. And so I stumbled on ayahuasca, but I was like, there's no part of myself that wants to jump on a plane and go to Peru to do something like 10 years of therapy in 1 weekend sounds really great and really efficient, but I'm not gonna just jump and go onto some foreign land and do that. And then I came across an article in Vice UK that talked about combo ceremonies, and it really resonated with me. I always for whatever reason, frogs were always my favorite animal growing up as a kid. I had frog everything, frog PJs, frog rings, jewelry, everything. And but again, I read this article from a UK media platform, and so I was like, well, you know, obviously that's not going to happen. And I just happened to connect with a girlfriend I had from the 2nd grade on Instagram. And she posted a photo where I could see combo marks on her skin. And all she put was #warrior. And so I direct messaged her and I was like, did you do a combo ceremony? And so she had told me about it and invited me to do one with her. And so that was a very, very difficult thing for me to get the courage to tell my husband that I'm gonna fast all day and I'm gonna drive an hour and a half up north to a girlfriend from 2nd grade's house, and we're gonna put poisonous frog serum on her skin and vomit violently for 20 minutes. And so I got all of the information, the scientific data backed behind, you know, about what exactly happens in the ceremony, and I sent it over to him and let him know, hey, I'm going to do this. And so I did it, and I came home, and as soon as I'm walking the door, like I look like a complete mess, you know, I haven't eaten all day. I've just been violently vomiting and feeling like I was going to die. And he just starts laughing. He's like, how was it?
Wow.
And I was like, I can't even talk right now. I just need to go to bed.
Well, you probably didn't smell very good either.
Right.
So yeah.
And so the next morning I got up full of energy, no coffee, went to the office, killed it at the office, was done with all my work by noon, wondering what to do next, you know, went to yoga, killed it, just like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I felt like so empowered, like all of that heavy dense energy had shifted.
Mm.
And I just felt like I'm myself again, you know, like this is my energy that I'm holding and nobody else's. And all of this static and this heaviness was gone. And so I had, it's traditional to do 3 ceremonies within a 28-day moon cycle. And so I had told him, look, I'm not, because some of the things that I had been involved in, I kind of asked him and he pushed back, you know? And so I told him, I said, look, I'm not asking you to come to the ceremony with me, but the door is open. If you want to join, the door is open. And he took, I don't know, maybe a couple of days to think about it and decided that he wanted to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So you did it together. You vomited together.
Yeah, it's pretty intimate.
Yeah.
Intimate
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
Oh
You
my
really
God.
do feel like you've died.
It takes you to that point.
You've survived death.
Of letting go. It takes you to the point of letting go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. It's time. And then you come back out of it. And
Yeah.
you come out of it better than you went into it.
No, I understand that. I can relate to that. I can't relate to the vomiting thing. I don't think I could do it. There's no way. I have an aversion to it. So kind of like before and after, like, I mean, are there what are like the most significant differences, do you think? Like after you guys came out of it, you know, you go 15 years and then a couple of years of that transition. And once you kind of came out of it, what do you think the big pluses were, the big changes that you noticed?
Well, I would say the biggest one was that we each gave each other full freedom. There was a lot of codependency that we had to work through because we're literally attached at the hip for the whole 15 years of our marriage. You know, we raised the kids together, we worked together, we socialized together. Up until the point to where we started getting pulled in different directions. But it took some time, but we're finally at a point right now where we give each other complete freedom to do or explore whatever each other wants to do, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not just from the spiritual aspect, but you know, in the physical too. Like Tony wanted to get a new car and I was like, just go for it.
Yeah.
You know, like I used to really stress about the finances and, oh my God, if you buy that car, you know, it was like a huge trigger for me. And like I've completely let go of any stress related to finances at all. And I'm like, if you want to do that, then go for it.
Yes.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's not like you're going to get us in trouble or anything like that. It's, you know, it's a decision that you make and you want. And it's your decision.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we are now is we trust each other's decisions. We trust each other that they'll be okay. They're making that decision because they need to do that, or they, you know, it's time, there's something leading them towards that. So I think that's a big part of where we are is I trust what she wants to do and she trusts what I want to do. And I think that's important in relationships too, is to have your own identity, to have your own space, to have your own lives, because we're unique creatures. You know, we're so different. You know, we can't always be doing, you know, what the other's doing. And then we start to kind of lose our identity or become the identity of the other person when we do that. So I think it's really important for us to be different, to have our own experiences, to, you know, we evolve at different paces, you know. So I think that's been a big transition for us that has allowed us to kind of be a lot more, I guess, comfortable with who we are, because we're individually more happy when each other is happy too.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because you obviously, like Morgan and I, and then I think a lot of couples, many couples, most of the couples that I've talked to came together in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, right? And they came together in an environment that was already supporting what you guys went through together. So
Yeah.
you guys were kind of like, when you're talking about that freedom, I mean, that's like, for instance, and I'm not like, not one's better or the other, I'm just making an observation, but like with Morgan and I don't think that's ever really been an issue.
Mhm.
But we didn't have to unlearn all the things that we experienced in our previous relationships. We didn't have to
Right.
unlearn that stuff because we'd already made that choice. You guys actually went through all that experience together, almost like you had two lives together, right? I mean,
We had to navigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And, yeah. And there were some really crazy moments where, like I had to reach out to his dad, or I had to reach out to my dad because we needed that support outside of ourselves. We needed that elder to tell us, look, you two, you need to get your shit together.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Like, you need to get over yourselves and figure
Yeah.
this out, or even just the encouragement. You can figure this out. You
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
work this out. You're capable.
Yeah.
It's important to have that support from them.
Well, obviously, and of course, a lot of these couples that I was referring to a minute ago had even like prior to that meeting of dry runs, or you hear a lot of people saying, "Hey, I found my twin flame," and then it ends up being like this big explosion, and they call them a catalyst, or they,
Mm-hmm.
but like, so if I look at, for instance, my relationship with Morgan or some of these other ones that I've talked to, there seems to be a foundation that's of a higher love. Like the love obviously is a foundation with you guys because it bridged you. It was there in the first phase, it was there in the middle, and it's still there, right? And then the other thing that's kind of foundational that I've noticed with these couples, regardless of how long they've been together, is there seems to be like a joint mission, like they're doing something together, and maybe it's just being together, but there's a third energy created by their connection, and by the nurturing of that connection. I know you had an existing business, and I think Tony still kind of spearheads that. You've got your thing. Do you do anything together? And it doesn't necessarily have to be business, but I mean, is there anything that you're kind of like working on together?
Not really, not in the terms of, the spiritual aspect and ascension and stuff like that. But we're also not in a hurry.
Yeah.
So we realized that a lot of these, how do I word it? We've got our whole lives together to figure out if there's another mission.
Yeah. No rush.
There's no rush. And Tony and I have both been very clear on it's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
And so we're just looking forward to watching it, however it unfolds, and looking forward to, we've had the business for 16 years now.
Yeah.
And of course, the quarantine has kind of been a bump in the road, but we're getting pretty close to being in a position where we have more freedom to play and travel and explore. And so for us, I think it's more a matter of just staying in flow.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for everything. And if you try to force it, you try to force things, sometimes you're not ready, you're not mature enough to bear the responsibility. So I like to play the long game, because I know it's going to work out. And it's just a matter of being patient, being present, and enjoying the path. And we want to get to a certain place. We will get there when it's time.
Right. Yeah, good outlook. Now, do you guys have any type of like routine or daily ritual or meditation or anything that you kind of do together to stay grounded, or does it just kind of happen naturally?
We have our meetings in the
Jacuzzi.
jacuzzi.
We have deep conversations in the jacuzzi in the mornings. Or
So
evenings.
sometimes the mornings and evenings, but that's just kind of like we just sit in the jacuzzi and we just like share what's going on and have deep conversations about it. And
Yeah, I think we have our own routines that we do, things that we do, and we just coexist in that. And we've always been very close early on in our relationship, and I try to make it a point to be that way later in our relationship too. I think it's important to try to hold on to how you feel and where you are from when you began. So I think that we've always had that connection, and it's easy for us to do our own thing and come back and just be together. It's not like we have to catch up. It's like we're never apart. It's like we're always together. So I don't think we have like any meditation that we get together or yoga. We've done that before, but I think we enjoy our own space.
Yeah, in terms of our spiritual path, we're kind of like on our own, doing our own thing, and then meeting in between. So, and that feels good for us right now.
Yeah.
Because when you are with somebody at such a young age and you have to figure out who you are again, it's kind of like we need that time to explore that, the soul aspects of ourselves individually. But I do see that sometime in the future, we'll probably explore that more together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I'm in a different stage. I'm very much involved with the corporate world still, so it's quite different from where Jayme is, and I'm looking forward to that diminishing and me able to spend more time and play, because I feel like I'm more serious than I am kind of exploratory. So Jayme's more exploratory than she is serious. So
and once you kind of cross that line where you're exploring more than you are in the I don't want to say 3D world, because it's not necessarily 3D being
I get what
in
you're
the corporate world, but it's just a different, you're changing different sides of your brain that you're working.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm afraid
So like sometimes when I go to the office, I'm like, oh God, it's a blur when I'm looking at at the computer, when I'm looking at numbers and stuff. And Tony he still has goals that he wants to carry out, and the business has really been his baby, and so he wants to see it through to the end.
That's an interesting mix. It really is. So in regard to like your children, and you mentioned both your fathers and other family, friends, was there any remarks, or was it noticed the before and after that you guys went through by your friends and family and children?
I think we pulled away more. If anything, they noticed that we weren't as available, and we kind of disappeared. So, if anything, there's definitely questions about what we're doing, and they may not understand a lot of it, but we're okay with that. It's not like we've changed, but we really haven't. We still hold presence. We're still supportive. We're not judgmental. If anything, we're better. If anything, we're more homebodies. So we don't need to be out. We don't need to socialize. They can come to our house. We can go to their place, and we're more intimate with people these days.
Yeah, it just feels so much more comfortable in an intimate setting, with just a couple other people, or a few other people. You know how it is. You don't really,
Yes, I do.
it's hard to do the small talk thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that,
No.
the alcohol and
Yeah.
all of that. So we like to have people over for dinners or, just to kind of like hang out and be super,
Yeah.
super low key.
Yeah, talk about the real stuff. So
But yeah, and then with family, it's been a journey
Yeah. Well,
integrating.
it sounds like that, because a lot of people come on the show and talk about their wake up, and of course part of the wake up is you get kind of excommunicated. A lot of people
Yeah.
lose total connection, total estrangement from family and friends, and but it's kind of cool because it's like you guys did the whole thing together. I know you guys go through, like you went first and that kind of thing's happening, but so I would imagine it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult for people to put you on the outside of the circle. And, because there's two of you, plus on the other side of it, you've got each other, and, the characteristics are the same. There's just two of y'all, like, the staying home. I mean, most of the people that are listening to this have been doing the quarantine thing long
Right.
before this happened,
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's an interesting mix. I was in the corporate world for years, like a lot of people that are on here, and very alpha male, very successful, and of course I got out of it, and then I had my experience. But I went back for about 4 or 5 months, and I found it, and I worked out of the home. Was in commercial construction, so my sites were like within 4 or 5 miles of my house. And the corporate office was like 20 miles away, and I didn't have to go, but it served me to go back into it and have to be able to function effectively in that environment. But I always noticed the shift going into work and leaving. It was like night and day, and that was a little bit of an adjustment. So I can see that again, there's two of you, so that might make it a little bit easier, but that's an interesting mix. It's almost like you're taking both and integrating them.
yeah, and I definitely come out of my environment, and it's an intense critical decision making environment. And I come home sometimes and I'm still in work mode and my brain is just firing.
Yeah.
And we know, but we've had this conversation before. Hey, I just need time to decompress. I need time to. So I have my hobbies that I try to use, and Jayme now she just.
I don't take anything
space.
personally anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Before I would take things personally and get really upset, and now I just laugh. Like when
I was going to say, you probably just giggle. He doesn't get the look anymore. He gets a giggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I need. It helps me really kind of like look at myself and just, okay, all right, hurry up.
Yeah, he got a little like pissy with me, and I just started laughing, and like very seriously, he's like, "It's not funny," and I just started laughing again, and he's like, "Okay, it's kind of funny."
Well, nothing will neutralize you like the divine feminine. It'll take your fangs out right away, right? No, I can relate. And how about your kids? How old are your kids? Are they at home?
We have one daughter at home. She's 16.
Yeah.
So she's just finishing up her junior year. And then we have our oldest is up in Portland going to school. She's 19.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you've got that twist too, because they've had people come on and they've got, children or teenagers in the house, and that adds another, kind of a wild card spin into the whole thing, because they're like carrying these incredible frequencies. And then for them to be exposed to your transformation,
it's kind of easy with the girls, but through these years, like our door is always open. So, and with Tony's family being in New Zealand, and we just have friends all over the world. So we've had, cousins stay with us for 3 months, and siblings stay with us for 3 months, and nephews. And so that adds a little bit to the mix too, because, we could kind of be more of ourselves around our girls. They understand, but then when we have like additional visitors and stuff, we have to not so much be more different than who we are, but it's more of a mirror of like it serves as a mirror to us that, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, we're more mentors, I think, to people, families, and our kids get an opportunity to see what it's like from a different, environment. This cousin or nephew, or family member comes from a different environment, and they get to see kind of how they are, and allow. I think it really provides them with a lot of information. They're able to I think relate to people and relate to us. So they've been very open with Jayme's transition, and very supportive, and we going through with the teenage girls. They go through their interesting dynamics, the energy levels, and
Todd knows.
yeah.
That's funny. That's very
So
funny. Yeah.
it's nice to have their support, and that they're wonderful children, and they're wise beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice mix. No wonder you got people wanting to come and stay with you.
They love
The
it.
energy is so powerful, and there's nothing I think more of a ascension accelerator than a teenage daughter, especially if you have more than one. So like a lot of people talk about the differences between the previous types of relationships. We'll just say like in the unawakened or 3D, versus what's going on now with these energies. You got the advantage of you were actually doing it together before and after, like we were talking about earlier. Have you noticed any type of like I don't want to say payoff, but I mean, have you noticed anything coming from your enhanced connection, whether it be through intimacy, or because there's many forms of intimacy, especially at this level of frequency that you guys have. But have you noticed like any type of reciprocation, any dimensional experiences? Do you like Jayme? Do you get more code coming in? That things open up more? Synchronicities, things happen as a result of your connection when you ground your connection.
Yeah, I think for me, I with Jayme opening up and being more herself and being more open to experiences, I feel like it's allowed me to tap into that, and I feel it was always there. It's just if I was never given an opportunity to explore it. So I think that for me, I've been able to tune into things like that, like get the downloads, and in one form or another. And it's Jayme holding space and walking through this and going through her evolution has allowed me to kind of like just sync up with where I need to be. And it's been really important for me to because I hold space in the reality in the corporate world and provide. It's been really important for me to have a balance, and I think if anything, it's allowed me to be more of a super business person, because I'm able to offer so much more to my employees, to my environment. I'm more passionate. I'm so much more engaged. I offer advice, and it comes from a good place, not just because I need to. It's because I have information, and it's the right time and place to do that. So if anything, it's helped me evolve to where I really want to be, where I need to be. I think as a mentor, as a as an individual in the corporate environment, I think a lot of people, executives miss that. They lose kind of their identity, and they're stuck in the box of corporate America, and they lack the balance. So I'm very grateful that Jayme's able to allow me to kind of step it up another level. So
do you think that like I think I get what you're saying, because I've been there, but I mean, do you think that because I mean, I know in that environment to be successful, I mean, I've never seen it, and I spent 15 years plus doing it at a high level, that you pretty much got to be, an alpha male, you know, but now I can see if I were to go back in today, because I've softened so much as a result of my relationship with Morgan. Do you think that you've softened up a little bit? And I don't mean soft as in, somebody walks over you. I mean like more compassion, more patience, less volatileness. You know what I mean? Less screaming and yelling, and I mean, do you think that has that been part of it?
And yeah, definitely. I've always been a leader since 23. I've always led groups of people. So I think I've always had the skill sets of a good leader, where I empower other people. I don't lead, I lead by example.
Right. Right.
But I think I've certainly enhanced and evolved to be more softer, as you said, to be more aware of, I think, my innate skills that I've had. Whereas in the past, there wasn't really a framework for me. And it was just, I did what I felt was right. Now it's like, okay, I do what I felt was right because it comes from a good place and it's the right thing to do. And I believe it 100%. And so I definitely think I've leveled up in that respect. But yeah, I mean, I understand the alpha male, and even though, people may think that I'm that, I'm more passive, if anything. I'd rather let somebody else lead. I'd rather let somebody else take the award and ring the bell, and as long as I'm acknowledged, I think that's all I care about. But I'm more interested in the greater good of everything than just myself.
Yeah. That picture you sent me, Jayme, is incredible. So I have two questions. I have two questions on the picture. One, was that from the frog ceremony? And two, do you have matching tattoos?
Yeah, so it's not from the frog ceremony.
Because you both look like you're in total bliss and ecstasy. So there must have been some sacred sexual vibrational activities going on or something. You must have been like in the ethers. But no, y'all, it's a beautiful picture.
We were kind of at the tail end of figuring things out. And we sort of wanted to do something that, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of like sealed everything in,
Ceremonious, yeah.
And we thought about getting matching tattoos, but I had never had a tattoo, and I couldn't just like go into a tattoo parlor and get a tattoo. It had to feel sacred to me. So I found an artist in LA that does sacred ceremony, and it was a 10-hour ceremony.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a long time.
Yeah, he wanted to talk with us, and then he meditated with us individually, and it was a big surrender for me because the artwork hadn't been established before we started. And so here I was putting something on my body that I didn't even know what it would be.
She didn't want to do it.
I had to really surrender to that process and
to the face. One of the weaknesses was surrender. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was the control thing was something that I really had to give up. So we went through that process, and it was really beautiful. And the tattoo artist did an amazing job, and he held such beautiful space for the ceremony.
Yeah, it was a traditional poke and stick Tibetan method that he used, and followed the whole ceremony that he had learned from the elders when he was searching that style.
And he obviously took it very seriously too. If he had you there and needed to talk to you and meditation and all. Yeah. So what is the tattoo, the matching tattoo, and what's the significance of it?
Well, I think we both wanted. I'm very much threes. 3 0, very much present in my life, and I wanted a triangle, and I wanted it, to resemble who I am, and Jayme, liked that idea.
Yeah, I'm super into sacred geometry. I've been drawing sacred geometry since I was little, not even knowing what it was. And so, of course, I love Trinity energy. And so we just kind of expressed to him what our interests were and what our intention was. And he drew it up himself.
Yeah, I think artists love to be inspired. You know, they love to, and there's a certain intuition that they get when they're with an individual and they get a picture and they're inspired from that moment. And I think it's important for artists to be obviously in their best when they're giving work to you. So we let him make the decision from what we tried to explain, and you know, it's something that we share. It's very sacred to us, and only we really get to see it. And it means so much because, you know, we have matching, you know, heart sacred tattoos. So.
Wow. Can't wait till me and Morgan get one. Be a cold day in hell. I'd be open to it. I'd be open to it. No, I don't know. I've never thought about it, but it's beautiful. A beautiful picture too, man. The energy in that picture. So I mean, like, yeah, that's what a story. I mean, and now do you guys, so I'm not really clear, like Jayme, I mean, do you have like dimensional episodes and, you know, do you connect in ways that some people do? I mean, everyone does things differently. And if you do you talk to Tony about it? Does it ever freak you out, Tony? I mean, anything that she's doing?
I'm at the point right now where I pretty much, I tell him almost everything, and if I don't tell him everything, it's because he's in work mode. Yeah. So it's not because I have anything to hide. It's because I respect the space where he's in, and I don't want to project onto him. But yeah, I mean, it's been very much my journey to come out of hiding. And to not be worried about what other people think about who I am and the experiences that I've been through. And so Tony's really served as a pillar for me to emerge out of that.
Yeah. Well, you know,
sometimes I think he's like, oh, I don't know about that.
Well, you know, like I remember the first time I walked in and Morgan twinkled her nose like bewitched and furniture moved or something. Yeah, I got a little freaked out. I'm just, but no, you know, and what's interesting too about that's really interesting about your story is that there is a before and after, because everyone else's point of comparison is former relationships, right? You guys are the former relationship and the new relationship. But what I noticed in I know in my own relationship and some of the other ones that I have a little knowledge of, is they seem to follow the collective energetic gender energy. Like, you know, like what's happened to you, Jayme, is what's happened to Morgan, is what's happening to women all over the world, stepping in their power. And then the same for Tony, where the masculine that was produced out of this patriarchal paradigm starts to soften and actually becomes more powerful, you know, let's just say more kingly and judicious and supportive. And I like what he said a minute ago too about, you know, I don't need to get the award. I don't need to, you know, because back in the day, the trophy room was the big deal. you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know if you're in sales, but I'm sure there's some type of scorecard. There always is in business, you know, who sold the most, who built the most, you know, that type of thing. But it's interesting because you guys carry that in your story. So where you at today? I mean, where do you guys stand today? Are you pretty much just present in the moment, not going into the future with a lot of expectations? Are you working on anything in particular at this stage with your relationship?
Yeah, we're right in the moment. Every day we treat it 100%. you think too far ahead, you can't control the future. It's dynamic. It'll change on you, but you can deal with what you're dealing with right in front of you. And I think that's how we treat life. We're more fluid, I think, with it.
Yeah, I mean, there is some planning. So we're
Yeah.
planning on spending more time in New Zealand in the recent future. Spending more time, in a natural environment. We're pretty lucky, even though we live in Los Angeles, we live kind of in the hills where it's more of a natural terrain. We get wildlife and stuff like that. But we also get airplanes flying over nonstop, and it'll be nice to get closer to the ocean and away from the airplanes. So
Right on.
that's the vision that we're bringing in.
Yeah, and early in our relationship, I had made the commitment to Jayme that we'll be on an island by the time we're 50. So,
Well, you got plenty of time, evidently. I know you said you got married young, so you still got plenty of time, I would imagine. So, how is now? Is your business operating in a virtual basis now, as opposed to going into the office?
yeah, I have employees that love to go to the office. We have a really nice environment. But yeah, the technicians, I run a infrastructure management company and cloud company.
Okay.
So yeah, we can work virtually, and we're
Yeah.
supporting customers still. We have medical companies that we support, other businesses, so we can do that virtually.
So you guys are pretty much quarantined then. How has this time been for you guys?
Very natural, very natural, just fluid. We're fortunate to have plenty of space that we're able to do. I'm able to work in my office sometimes. It's very comfortable. Jamie's able to go on a Zoom chats in her office.
I do distant sessions, so it's pretty easy.
We have the outdoors, so it's very comfortable. I feel like we're on vacation in our house.
Nice, very cool, very cool. Do you guys have any advice that you want to impart before we head out to couples? This is a pretty well, I mean, it's always been front and center for everybody. Everybody always wanted that partner, in the fairy tale. It's taken a lot of beatings, both in the light worker community and otherwise, but it's a different world today. I mean, relationships are different. Do you guys have anything you want to offer us on the way out?
If I could say anything, would be patient with each other. Allow the individual to go through their timing, because we're all different. We don't have to control or be at the same time of every individual. But as you're being patient, be present too. Watch and observe and participate so that you can have a conversation if you feel it's time.
Yeah.
I would probably say that it's incredibly important for you to feel like you're going to be okay without that person. Yeah. We did a podcast earlier this week, and that's one of the things that came up, and I think that's really a really good gauge to where you're at in the relationship and the amount of freedom that you're giving your partner and the amount of acceptance. And so if you're in a relationship with somebody and you ask yourself, am I going to be okay if they go their own way and I go mine?
Yeah.
Then that's a pretty solid foundation. But if you have that attachment to them, or if you're codependent on them, then it's really kind of a cue to look into yourself and start really exploring yourself, because it's easy to get lost in a relationship or even a friendship with somebody else.
Sure.
And so if you take that time to really look within and let go of attachments, it really frees up the relationship to grow and expand.
True. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that actually applies. That's what's so cool about these relationships, is because you get kind of a double dose You know, I mean, you're actually doing the same thing we're doing on an individual level. You're getting to all the same epiphanies and conclusions, you know, but these relationships can certainly fast track you. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like everything and anything, you could ask the same question: can I live without this? You know, everyone has their, you know, Achilles heels and, you know, their addictions or whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
Attachments.
that's great advice. And you guys are beautiful, and love to hook up with you again sometime, and you know, online, and maybe if we ever get out to LA, although I've been out there a couple of times and lived. I don't know. There's a lot of people there. It
It's
would have to
pretty
be,
densely
yeah.
populated, yeah.
There's not a lot of traffic right now, so now's a good time.
Yeah, I bet that's strange. I bet that's strange. I'm used to those, you know, 6-lane highways, and then the cop gets on the motorcycle going back and forth to slow everybody down. I never understood that. But yeah, best to you and your family, and thank you for being so open and accommodating to us. And I'd love to collaborate with you again down the road. But all blessings to you, and all.
Thank
And
you.
you,
Thank
Todd,
you
you
for
too.
having us.
Thank you.
All right, you guys take care. All right,
Bye.
thank you so much. All right.